My name is Emma Mitchell. I'm 31 years old, and I make my living figuring out worst-case scenarios for a fintech company based in Fort Collins. I spend my days imagining how things can go wrong, but nothing in that job prepared me for the 10-second voicemail that ended up detonating my family. The message came in on a Tuesday afternoon, right in the middle of my workday, wedged between finishing a risk report and staring down a cup of coffee that had already gone cold. I hit play without thinking much of it, and then I heard my mom's voice. It was calm, clipped, and oddly professional, like she was calling to cancel a service instead of cutting off her own kid. She didn't waste time. She said I was out, told me not to come back, said they were moving on without me. There was no explanation, no warmth, and no emotion, just a final decision delivered like a business notice. For a moment, I sat there staring at my phone, my heart thumping so loud it felt like it was echoing in my ears. Then the part of my brain that spends all day protecting other people's money quietly took over. I didn't call her back. I didn't argue. I didn't beg for answers. Instead, I typed one short reply, "Bae," and then I moved on before they could. I logged into the family LLC, the one I had built from the ground up, which held our rental properties and the triplex we were about to close on. I locked down every permission tied to my name. No more deals using my credit. No transfers without my sign-off. No quiet decisions made in the background. After that, I called the real estate agent and pulled myself out of the house deal they were counting on. The deal was dead. Then I froze the retirement account structure I'd created for them, making sure nothing could be changed or drained without me knowing. By the time I finished my coffee, every easy path they had through me was gone. I honestly thought that would be the end of it. Instead, by the next morning, my phone was stacked with 46 missed calls and a voicemail from their lawyer saying, "We have a serious problem." I laughed when I heard it and typed out my reply without hesitation. Because they had no idea the real problem wasn't that I was gone. It was everything I took with me. Stick with me, and you'll see how one cold voicemail turned into a full-blown family revenge story. One where the person they tried to erase ended up holding all the cards. The next morning, I woke up to my phone buzzing itself toward the edge of my nightstand. For a split second I thought it was my alarm. Then I saw the screen. 46 missed calls. Unknown numbers. One from a law office I recognized right away. The newest alert was another voicemail from their lawyer. I put in my earbuds and hit play while the coffee machine warmed up. "This is Thomas Coleman, counsel for Caleb and Diane Mitchell," he said. "Emma, we need to speak. This is serious. Please call me back as soon as possible." His voice had that tight edge lawyers get when they realize their clients didn't tell them the whole story. I let the message end and stood there staring at the wall, listening to the coffee drip into the pot. My phone kept lighting up with new texts from my mom. "Emma, this is just a misunderstanding. Call me. We need to talk." Then one from my dad. "Kiddo, whatever happened, we can fix this. Please call us back." Another from my mom followed. "We didn't mean it like that. We were upset. Come home so we can explain." I almost laughed. The day before, there had been nothing confusing about her tone at all. "We're out. Don't come back. We're moving on without you." That sounded crystal clear to me. I scrolled through the messages, half expecting to see Lena's name pop up somewhere in the mess. Nothing. Not a single call or text from my little sister, who normally flooded the family group chat over the smallest things. For someone who lived for attention, she was suddenly very quiet. While the coffee finished brewing, I opened the building security app out of pure habit and checked the front entrance camera. The screen pulled up a clip from earlier that morning. My dad was standing outside the glass doors of my apartment building, his hands buried in his jacket pockets, looking up toward the second floor where my unit was. He checked his phone, hesitated like he might buzz the door, and then turned around and walked away. No knock, no call, just retreat. My chest tightened for a moment, but I shoved the feeling down. When people show you how easily they can cut you off, You don't rush to comfort them when they feel the blade swing back. On the drive to work, my phone kept vibrating in my bag. I ignored it. Once I was at my desk, I finally sent 3 short replies. To my mom, I'm safe. I need time. To my dad, I heard the voicemail. I'm not ready to talk. To the lawyer, I received your message. I will respond in writing. That was all I owed anyone. A little before lunch, my coworker Jenna rolled her chair over and lowered her voice. You've been staring at that screen like you're about to blow it up, she said. Everything okay at home? I almost said yes out of reflex, then stopped myself. Not really, I said. My parents decided I'm out of the family business. Her eyebrows shot up. Do they realize you are the family business? Shrugged. They left a voicemail. I locked things down. Now there are lawyers involved. Jenna let out a slow whistle. I'm not telling you what to do, she said. But you know how this works. The second money gets involved, everybody starts acting. If you move out of guilt, they'll twist that into you admitting fault. Make sure every move you make is something you'd be okay explaining to a judge someday. He nodded. That part made perfect sense to me. Risk management was literally my job. I'd spent years building systems to stop people from quietly shifting money behind each other's backs. Only now I was realizing I'd built the perfect setup to stop my own family from doing it to me. As I walked to the break room to refill my coffee, my phone buzzed again. A new text from an unknown number. Heard you pulled out of the triplex because you're overwhelmed. You okay? It was a cousin on my dad's side. Overwhelmed wasn't my word. It sounded like something Lena would say while dabbing fake tears. That's when the pieces started falling into place. Her timing after losing her marketing job. The way she'd started tossing around phrases like streamline the LLC and free up equity at Sunday dinners, like she'd ever cared about spreadsheets before. And the fact that she was the only one completely silent now, like a puppeteer who'd already yanked the strings and stepped back to watch. I stared at my phone and felt the first clean edge of anger slide into place. Sharp, cold, and focused. If Lena was really behind this, if she thought she could push me out of something I built with my own hands and quietly slide into my place while our parents went along with it, then she had picked the wrong sister to start a financial war with. 2 days later, I tried to convince myself life was still normal by doing something painfully routine. I went to my usual coffee shop. I went every Saturday. It was the kind of place where the barista already knew your order, and the regulars liked to debate hiking trails and housing prices like it was a competitive sport. I just grabbed my latte when someone called my name. Emma. Hey. I turned around and saw Tom Reynolds, one of my dad's old friends from the garage where he used to work. Tom smiled like nothing in the world was wrong and clapped me on the shoulder. Heard about the triplex, he said, lowering his voice like he was sharing inside information. Tough situation. I frowned. What about it? He shifted his weight and winced a little. Just what your mom and Lena have been saying in the family group chat. That you pulled out because work got to you. That you were overwhelmed and it wasn't a good time for you mentally. He said mentally the way people do when they're scared to say breakdown. My jaw tightened. Overwhelmed. There it was again. I forced a smile so tight it felt like it might split my face. Yeah, well, you know how rumors travel, I said. Tom patted my arm, told me to take care of myself, and wandered off toward the sugar station like he'd done his good deed for the day. I walked out of the shop before my expression could betray what I was actually feeling. Outside, in the cold Fort Collins air, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through my messages. Not a single call from Lena. Not one text. Yet she was apparently comfortable telling extended family that I was too unstable to handle a deal I had practically engineered myself. That wasn't gossip. That was groundwork. Sitting in my car, I opened my contacts and tapped a name I hadn't used in months. Luke Hayes, the financial advisor who'd helped me set up the original structure for our family LLC before my parents, under Lena's influence, switched to someone newer and flashier. Luke answered on the second ring. Emma. That's a surprise, he said. Still keeping everyone out of trouble. Working on it, I replied. I've got a question. Has anyone tried to change ownership percentages in Northline Holdings LLC recently? There was a pause, the kind where you can almost hear someone straighten up in their chair. I've seen some draft documents floating around, he said carefully. Your mom mentioned a new advisor and asked a few hypothetical questions. There were references to adding another family member as a managing member, and your signature line was blank. It looked sloppy, so I told her nothing could move without you. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. Another family member. Lena. Course. Did any of it actually go through? Yes. No, Luke said. The paperwork was incomplete and, frankly, questionable. But Emma, if someone's trying to backdoor their way into control of your LLC, you need to get ahead of this. I thanked him, hung up, and stared at my dashboard for a long moment. The voicemail telling me I was out replayed in my head. So did Tom casually repeating the word overwhelmed. Then my mom suddenly shopping for a new advisor right after Lena lost her job. None of this was random. It was a plan, one with a shaky legal spine and a heavy layer of emotional manipulation on top. While I sat there, a new notification popped up. From Lena. Finally. What do you think you're doing, Emma? Pulling out of the house deal, freaking everyone out, locking down accounts. This is a mess, and you're making it worse. For a second, my fingers hovered over the keyboard. I almost unloaded everything boiling in my head. Instead, I deleted the draft and opened my email. First, I wrote to the real estate agent. Per our conversation, please consider this written confirmation that I have withdrawn from the Northland Metroplex purchase as a borrower and primary qualifier. Any further representation that I am participating in this transaction is inaccurate and unauthorized. I asked for a formal cancellation notice to be sent to my parents, with their lawyer copied. Then I opened a new message, this one addressed to Lena, but written the same way I'd send a risk escalation at work. Lena, this email serves as formal notice that any attempt to alter ownership, signature authority, or financial structure related to Northline Holdings LLC, its associated properties, or retirement accounts without my written consent is unauthorized and may constitute fraud. Do not sign my name. Do not imply my approval. Any such action will be documented and shared with legal counsel. No yelling. No insults. Just facts and consequences. I sent it and turned my phone face down on the passenger seat. By the time I drove home, my call log showed 6 more attempts from my mom, 3 from my dad, and none from Lena. At my apartment, I opened my laptop and created a new folder labeled Family Risk File. I dropped in screenshots of texts, the lawyer's voicemail, Luke's notes, and the emails I'd just sent. Every move, every lie, every attempt to paint me as unstable went in there. Because if Lena was building a narrative where I was the problem, the weak link that needed to be cut so she could slide into place, then I was going to build a better one. One backed by timestamps, documentation, and evidence. As I watched the files stack up on my screen, I couldn't help wondering how many families blow themselves apart like this, all because one person values the comfort of playing the victim more than telling the truth. 3 days later, an unknown number flashed across my phone in the middle of a spreadsheet. I almost let it go to voicemail until I recognized the firm name. This is Emma, I answered. Hi, Emma. This is Ryan Liu, your parents' new financial advisor, he said. I need to go over some discrepancies in the North Lina retirement structure. That word, discrepancies, made me sit up straight. Ryan explained that while reviewing the LLC and retirement accounts, he'd found draft forms listing Lena as a co-trustee or managing member, with my name referenced as approving the changes but no actual signature from me. To be clear, Ryan, I said, I haven't approved anything. I haven't signed a single document since the day I set everything up. He sighed. I thought that might be the case. Your family is under the impression you stepped away and that these changes reflect your wishes. The word overwhelmed came up. From a compliance standpoint, I needed to hear it directly from you. Treat every request as unauthorized unless you see my live signature, I told him. If anyone claims otherwise, ask for written proof. You won't get any. After we hung up, my cousin Sarah called almost immediately. Are you okay? She blurted out. Because the way Lena's been talking, it sounds like you're falling apart. I asked her what Lena was actually saying. Sarah hesitated, then sighed. She's telling people you pulled out of the triplex because of anxiety, that you hoard control of the LLC, that you threatened to cut mom and dad off financially. Sarah paused. Now she's posting about abusive power in families. None of that is true, I said flatly. Sarah lowered her voice. I didn't think so. It doesn't sound like the Emma who paid for their roof. I just wanted you to know what's being said. Thanks, I said. Screenshot it if you want. Otherwise, don't feed her audience. We hung up. A second later, an email thread landed in my inbox. The subject line read, North Line Triplex Purchase Update. It was from our agent Susan with my parents Lena and Thomas, the lawyer, all copied. Quoted below Susan's reply was Lena's message. Susan, as we discussed, Emma has pulled out due to personal mental health struggles. We need to move forward without her. Please respect her limitations. She wrote it like she was being kind, like she was protecting me. Made my skin crawl. Susan's actual response was short and professional. Thank you, Lena. For liability reasons, I'll need written confirmation directly from Emma. I'll pause the file for now. I started typing before my anger had a chance to cool. Hi Susan. Attached is my written withdrawal from 2 days ago, along with the pre-approval documents. I am not exiting due to mental health struggles. I am withdrawing because I no longer consent to my name, credit, or income being used under the current family circumstances. Any other description of my decision is inaccurate. Thank you for pausing the file. I copied Thomas and Ryan and attached everything showing I'd been the driver of this deal from day one. Susan replied quickly, this time to a smaller group. Understood. I will disregard Lena's prior message and act only on instructions that come directly from you. A quiet email followed from Thomas. Receive. We should discuss next steps. That night, I found an envelope taped to my apartment door. It was addressed in my mom's handwriting. Inside, on lined paper, she'd written, We love you. We were emotional. Please call us so we can fix this before it goes too far. Love, Mom. For a moment, my chest tightened. I could picture her sitting at the kitchen table, Lena pacing nearby, crying on cue, shaping the story. My phone buzzed again. Sarah had sent a screenshot of Lena's newest post. Sometimes the most dangerous person in a family is the one who controls all the money and punishes you when you don't obey. Healing means walking away from people who weaponize their power, even if they share your last name. The comments were full of hearts and you go girl. I set my mom's note beside my laptop and opened the folder labeled Family Risk File. Emails, voicemails, advisor notes, screenshots, everything lined up neatly. Up until now, I'd been closing doors and holding the line. But as I watched the evidence stack up, it hit me. Defense wasn't enough. If Lena wanted to build a story where I was the villain, I needed something she couldn't twist. A clean, documented version of the truth that left her standing alone in the light. The next morning, while I was at my desk, a text came in from my mom. Just 5 minutes. No arguing. Please. I stared at it. 5 minutes wasn't going to undo a voicemail telling me not to come back, but it sounded more like her than anything she'd sent in weeks. Call me, I wrote. She answered immediately. I could hear the faint echo of speakerphone. Your dad's here too, she said. Hey, kiddo, Caleb added. You wanted 5 minutes, I said. Mom exhaled. We messed up, Emma. Saying you were out, telling you not to come back, that was extreme. We shouldn't have said it like that. You did say it, I replied. Exactly like that. She went quiet, then tried again. Your sister told us some things. She said you were planning to cut us out of the LLC. That you were talking to lawyers about removing us from the retirement accounts. That you said you were tired of carrying us and wanted full control. That never happened, I said. Did you hear those words from me directly? Well, no, Mom admitted. Lena said you talked in the car after dinner. I drove myself that night, I said. I left alone. There was no car ride. Dad swore softly under his breath. Why would she make that up? Mom whispered, already sounding like she knew the answer. Because she wants what I built, I said. If I'm unstable and power-hungry, then sliding herself into the paperwork looks like protecting you instead of using you. Dad sighed. This is bigger than family drama now. Thomas called. Ryan called. Susan paused the deal. I know, I said. That's why we're done with whispers. We're sitting down, all four of us in the same room. No speakerphones. No vague posts. I'll bring documents. You bring everything Lena told you. Then we see what holds up. Do we really need lawyers? Mas. They're already involved, I said. The real question is whether they hear Lena's story first or the evidence. When? Dad asked. Tomorrow. 6 o'clock. At the house, I said. If Lena won't come, that's an answer too. The next evening, I walked into my parents' living room with a thick folder tucked under my arm. Same beige couch. Same framed school photos. Completely different atmosphere. My parents sat together on the sofa. Lena perched in an armchair, clutching a tissue like a prop. She wouldn't look at me. Thanks for coming, Dad said. I set the folder and my phone on the coffee table. Just so we're clear, I said. Nothing about this is off the record in my head. If anyone lies, I'm not keeping it in this room. Lena scoffed. Wow. Way to make this hostile. We're family. Then the truth shouldn't scare anyone, I said. Mom twisted her hands. Lena, honey, tell Emma what you told us. No, I said. Lena can speak for herself. Go ahead. She rolled her eyes. I just repeated what you said. That you were done carrying everything. That you were thinking about pulling your name off things. That you wanted full control of the LLC so you didn't have to consult anyone. And this was in the car after dinner. Yes. She nodded. Yeah. You were upset. You probably don't even remember. I opened the folder, pulled out a printed page, and slid it across the coffee table. That night at Harbor Grill, right? Said. Check the timestamps. Mom's eyes moved down the page. Lena's rideshare receipt showed a pickup to their house at 10:15 p.m. My gas station charge was across town at 10:13. Different locations. Different routes. Different cars. I drove myself, I said calmly. You took a car alone. There was no car conversation. Lena spoke up fast. Maybe it was a different night. Before you go there, I said, flipping to another page. This is the only other time we all had dinner together in the last 3 months. That night you left early to meet friends. I stayed behind to pay. No private ride then either. Dad leaned back slowly. Lena, he said, his voice low. I shrugged. Memory's weird. I was just trying to help. I thought she was serious about needing a break. I laid out the next documents one by one. My email to Susan. Sent before Lena ever mentioned mental health. Susan's reply saying she would ignore any instructions that didn't come from me. Ryan's note about draft paperwork referencing my approval without my signature. Then screenshots of Lena's posts and Sarah's messages. Page by page, the story formed a straight line. From the voicemail that cut me off to this living room. Mom finally turned to Lena. You told us you saw emails, she whispered. You told us Emma said she was done with us. Lena sat up straighter. So now you just believe her because she printed things. She's always liked control. She's twisting this to make me look crazy. Dad locked his eyes on her. The truth doesn't fall apart when you hold it next to a receipt, he said. Yours did. Mom looked at me, and for the first time since that voicemail, something shifted in her expression. We always thought you could handle more, she said quietly. We saw Lena as fragile, so we protected her and put the responsibility on you. And now I'm realizing the only person who's lied to us is the one we told not to come back. Lena opened her mouth, but Mom lifted a hand. Not this time, she said softly. That one word, no, settled into the room and something inside me finally slid back into place. They had tried to cut me out using a script Lena wrote. Now they were watching that script burn, page by page, and realizing how close they'd come to losing the one person who had actually kept everything standing. The silence after my mom spoke felt like a fifth person sitting with us. Lena shifted in her chair, her eyes bouncing between our parents and me, trying to figure out where the ground was still solid. "So what now?" she snapped. "You've got your little packet of papers. Congratulations, Emma. Are you happy you made Mom cry?" I ignored the jab. "This isn't about anyone crying," I said. "It's about consequences. You told me I was out. You tried to push changes through behind my back. You told people I was unstable so you could step into things I built. That has to lead to something more than a sad Facebook post and everyone pretending it never happened." Dad rubbed his jaw, the way he always did when he was thinking through a hard repair. "What do you think should happen?" he asked. Lena snapped her head toward him. "Seriously, Dad? You're asking her." I met his eyes. "You wanted me out of the family business. Fine. I'll stop being the default safety net. But that also means no one gets to quietly use my name, my credit, or my work. Starting with Lena having zero access to anything I've set up." Mom hesitated. "Lena doesn't have access," she started. "Not officially," I said, shaking my head. "But she's been in meetings. She's been in group chats about the triplex. She's been talking to advisors like decisions were already moving in her favor. That ends today." Dad sighed and looked at Lena. "Honey, we need to be clear. No more talking to advisors for us. No more speaking on our behalf. No more implying Emma is okay with things when she's not." Lena blinked hard. "So you're just cutting me out," she said, her voice thin and sharp. "After everything I've done for you? What exactly is that?" I asked before I could stop myself. "The Instagram story about being raised by wolves in the suburbs? Or the half-baked business ideas you wanted me to fund?" Mom flinched, but this time she didn't correct me. "Caleb," she said quietly, "maybe we need to make this official. No extra beneficiaries. No shared accounts. No promises we can't keep. We've spent years saying we'd help Lena start something, pay off this card, co-sign that loan. All it's done is make her feel entitled to money that doesn't exist until Emma builds it." I looked at her, surprised by how direct she was being. Then she turned to me. "We want you to rewrite the documents, the LLC, the retirement accounts, all of it. Based on what actually makes sense, not what we say in the middle of a fight." I stared at her. "You're asking me to take control again after telling me to get out," I said slowly. She nodded, her eyes wet. "I'm asking you to do what you've been doing all along, only this time with us admitting you know more than we do." Lena let out a bitter laugh. "Unbelievable. You're handing her everything. You're punishing me for telling the truth about how she treats us." Dad looked at her steadily. "The truth would have held up against a gas receipt," he said. "Yours didn't. That's the difference." For the first time since I'd walked in, Lena looked genuinely shaken. Her eyes flicked to me, searching for an older version of me, the one who might soften, step in, smooth things over. I didn't. Dad took a breath. "Here's what we're going to do," he said, slipping into the firm tone he used back at the shop. "Emma, you work with Thomas and Ryan to make the LLC and retirement accounts airtight. You and I remain the only managing members. Your mom stays a beneficiary. Lena has no control anywhere. If we help her, it comes from our own pockets, not by opening back doors into what you built." Lena leaned forward. "You can't just erase me," she said. "I'm your daughter too." Mom winced. "We're not erasing you," she said. "We're stopping the fantasy that money we don't have will magically appear because we attach your name to something Emma created. If we ever help you, it'll be because you have a real plan and we can afford it, not because we feel guilty." Lena changed tactics so fast it almost gave me whiplash. "Fine," she said, tears filling her eyes. "Then let me prove it, Emma. Give me a small role in the LLC. Let me handle social media or something. Let me show you I can contribute instead of just taking." It was honestly impressive how smoothly she shifted, from outrage to wounded victim to reasonable collaborator, the version of herself that played best in the room. A year ago I might have bought it. This time, all I saw was the same pattern wearing a new outfit. I stood up and picked up my folder. No, I said simply. If you want to prove you can build something, you don't do it by wiring yourself into what someone else already built. You start with nothing. Like I did. My mom looked between us. Emma, isn't that a little harsh? She asked quietly. I shook my head. Harsh was being told I was out and shouldn't come back. Harsh was having my stability turned into a sympathy prop online. This isn't harsh, Mom. This is boundaries. There's a difference. Lena glared at me. You're going to regret this, she said under her breath. You really think you can cut me off and walk away clean? I slipped my phone into my bag. No, I said. I think I can protect what I earned and stop you from turning my work into your safety net. Whatever happens to you after that isn't on me. As I headed for the door, my dad walked with me. I'm sorry, he said quietly. For the voicemail. For not asking you first. For letting it get this far. I believed what was easiest to hear. I nodded, a mix of relief and sadness settling in my chest. I know, I said. But choosing the easy story doesn't make the consequences easy. Over the next week, everything shifted from emotional to real. Ryan sent revised drafts showing only my dad and me in control positions. Thomas scheduled a meeting where my parents signed documents clearly limiting who could ever access their accounts. I updated the LLC operating agreement so no new managing member could be added without unanimous written consent. There wasn't even a placeholder where Lena's name could be penciled in later. When the final signature dried, something settled in me. Not revenge as a dramatic moment, but revenge as a structure. A system where the person who tried to push me out had no way back in. A few days later, Lena showed up at my office without warning, eyes red and wide, asking the receptionist for me. She was holding a binder, the kind you bring to pitch a big idea. I met her in the lobby, arms crossed. I have a business plan, she said, pushing the binder toward me. Events, brand partnerships, influencer collaborations. If you just invest a little, I can pay you back and prove everyone wrong. I didn't take it. Start it without me, I said. If it works, you won't need my money. If it doesn't, you'll understand why I said no. Her face crumpled, anger and panic fighting for space. You're really not going to help me, she whispered. Not after everything. I thought of Luke's warning. Ryan's caution. Sarah's screenshots. My mom's letter. My dad's apology. That 10-second voicemail that lit the fuse. I'm done helping people set themselves on fire with my gasoline, I said. Then I turned and walked back through the secured door to my floor, leaving her, her binder, and all her almosts on the other side. A month later, I stood in the driveway of a pale brick triplex on the edge of Fort Collins, holding a box of kitchen supplies and watching my parents argue about where to hang a bird feeder. The bottom unit was theirs now, officially documented, with a clause guaranteeing they could live there for the rest of their lives without anyone touching it. My place was on the second floor, sunlight pouring through wide windows. The third unit was already listed for rent. The numbers lived in a spreadsheet only I controlled. Northline Holdings LC, the thing Lena tried to slide into, was leaner and cleaner. Just me and my dad as managing members, my mom as beneficiary, and more safeguards than any family drama could shake loose. No side doors. No creative interpretations. On weekends, I'd cook with my mom in her new kitchen while my dad watched car shows in the living room. We didn't relive every detail, but we stopped pretending money was some mysterious fog no one understood. I'd pull up the accounts and walk them through what was real instead of what they wished was real. It wasn't perfect. There were still quiet moments. Still guilt in their eyes when Lena's name came up. But when she texted asking for help with another credit card, my mom would show me the message, turn her phone face down and say, "We can't fix this for her. Not this way." From what I heard through cousins, Lena ended up in a small apartment across town, bouncing between gigs. Her big event plan never really took off. People started noticing that her stories always needed a villain and a spotlight. For once, I wasn't either. I didn't sue her. I didn't try to tear her down online. I did something quieter and sharper. I removed the leverage she thought she had and let her sit with a life that belonged to her alone, not one propped up by my work. I wasn't angry anymore. I was clear. Clear that trust without boundaries is just an invitation for the wrong person to move in and rearrange everything. Clear that being the strong one in a family doesn't mean letting people weaponize your strength against you. If there's a lesson here, it's this. You can love your family and still refuse to be their insurance policy when they gamble with the truth. You can forgive without handing the keys back. And if someone ever tells you you're out, don't come back. You're allowed to believe them. Step back and ask yourself the harder question. What do I stop giving them access to from this moment on? Maybe you have your own version of this story. A time when someone treated your loyalty like a credit card with no limit. If you do, I hope you learn faster than I did that saying no isn't revenge. It's self-respect. And sometimes, that's the only thing worth protecting more than the house itself.